Nothing's changed, has it?
What? Huh?
Do you want to talk about a movie?
Yeah, I guess there's nothing else to do here, is there?
We can't do this with gigs, can we? You can't take you can't, I don't know, take Marilyn Manson and put him in a Rita Ora gig or vice versa. That's not going to work, is it?
No.
Movies it is then. Again.
Okay.
Hello. Still here. Still can't go anywhere. I did try and get through there, but it's a cupboard for me. So, not that I know that he has anything to do with that, because that would be strange. He's just there.
Don't offend him.
Did you want some tea? No? Okay. Sorry. Hello, and welcome back again once more to Maybe Movies, to episode 22.
22. Old enough to drink, drive, get into all kinds of trouble.
Absolutely, and yet I've got tea.
You are being sensible, aren't you?
Well, I don't really have a choice. It's not like I can make anything. It's there. So, as long as it's tea and not urine recycle. How's that beer doing for you?
Screw you.
No, sorry, I'm laughing. I was actually going to start crying into my tea. So like, hang on. What water is the tea made of? Hoisted by my own petard, as they say.
Indeed, sir.
Which is probably better than being hoisted by your own Picard.
I don't know, it depends how into Trek you are.
Whether we're talking Picard or Next Generation. Because I heard Picard is a piece of shit.
Oh. I haven't seen it yet.
No, neither have I. Anyway, hello! Thank you for stopping by, or again, as always, if it's your first time, thank you for joining us on our weekly dives into the murky world, not of a man who cannot drive, no, into the murky world of theoretical movies. As you know, this is our last one for January, so we've been looking this month at RoboCop Die Hard. We've already seen how John McClane would fare getting tooled up with a titanium body.
Quite well.
He did very well. And we started last week looking at how Alex Murphy will fare in a tall building in LA.
Indeed.
We've had to cheek a few things.
A couple, nothing too huge.
No, so far. But just before we get onto that, a couple of quick shout-outs. First one is to one of our regular shout-outs, one of our regular friends, is to the Red Hot Bear and Red Hot Reactions, who does a lot of reaction videos, which are fantastic to watch. And he's just launched a new show as well, doing his reactions while he's playing games on his Mega Drive.
Oh, sweet.
So, which...
Nice. He's got one that still works then.
Yes, yeah.
Cool.
And I did see when I was watching the first one the other day that he's looking out for recommendations. So I'm going to nominate that you play Golden Axe, or Golden Axe 2, or Golden Axe 3, or maybe all three.
Those were not easy games.
No.
Not on the Mega Drive. Not like they were easy in the arcade, but they were harder on the Mega Drive. I'm sure I remember.
And another quick shout out as well to all of our other friends on the Facebook group UK Tubers, who've been giving us some support recently.
Yeah, thanks for that, guys.
Yes, they're much appreciated, and hope all your channels are doing awesome as well. Did you have anything you'd like to?
If you guys are at all interested in horrorcore or horror-themed music, you should probably check out an artist called Poltergeist. He's just released a new track called Ghostface. You can find it on YouTube if you search Poltergeist space OD. And if you're interested in what he's doing and would like to follow him, you can also find him on Instagram at OD_artist. _poltergeist. Excuse my not English.
You do struggle with that quite a bit.
Indeed, but please check it out, guys. It's good fun. You can find the latest video, Ghostface, and pretty much all of his other tracks on the YouTube channel, so check it out.
We were listening to it the other day, weren't we? It's
Yes.
Awesome.
Tall Man one I haven't showed you. That one's a really good one.
Oh,
Yes.
sweet. Yes.
With those aside, shall we dive in?
Oh, indeed, yes. Let's get this finished.
Before we do drown in delirium, which is probably, again, better than drowning in urine recycle.
Dude, stop going there!
I just felt like we needed to throw in some slightly random Red Dwarf references. That's all. Interesting thing I found out the other day, which I didn't realise.
Oh no, which one of us is Rimmer?
God, well, I don't have the head to be listener, but I have got the teeth to be the cat, so...
Ooh, nice save there. Let's move on.
Yes, as I was going to say, I didn't realise RoboCop was nominated for 2 Oscars.
Was it really? Wow.
And won a slew of other awards, but yeah.
I won awards for like its effects, the stuff like that, and I like the stunt work, I think, but I didn't know that. What, like, do you mean Oscars?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I don't know what ones, I must admit, I didn't see. It just said it was nominated for 2 Oscars. If anyone does know, then please do let us know.
It'd be interesting to know which parts of it they thought were worthy of a nomination.
Before we even begin, there is a point that we didn't discuss last time, which I think certainly it wasn't a problem up until it's only a problem now because we're going into the action sequences. But it's something that we need to know before we go any further.
Right. Okay.
Generally, as we do this, we take our protagonists as we find them at the start of their respective movies. And we know from the beginning of RoboCop that Murphy is a bit gung-ho. He's very quick to rush in. He tends to act before he thinks.
He does. Yes. I was wondering if this would come up.
Where we left it last time at the end of Act 1, Hans and his band of merry men has turned up.
Yeah.
Or have turned up. I'm catching your grammar thing. He hears the gunshots, he looks out the door, he sees them pulling the woman and stuff out of the office and things. Would Murphy again, as we find him at the beginning of RoboCop, would he rush out there to try and help them?
Right, okay. Well, I thought about this earlier on a little bit. Probably not as much as you have. I think, at the beginning, no. I mean, what are there? 6, 7 of them? Heavily armed with machine guns.
At that point, from where he is, I think he only can see 2. But you can obviously hear there's stuff going on elsewhere.
So he knows he's outgunned and outnumbered.
See, if I wanted to get into an argument about it, I'd say...
I'm not being absolute here. I'm making my case.
I mean, he knows he was outnumbered when he went into the steel mill.
I think that there are scenes later on when he would certainly act where John wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel at this point, massively outnumbered, don't know what the situation is, he would hang back and try and assist the situation.
I was going to do it another way. I was going to try and explain it another way. I did have a workaround for it.
Yeah.
And again, it's moving the goalposts slightly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not even something that we need to even reference within the context of the film. Which is, we've written in that the reason he's still in New York is because he was injured in duty and he went back to work.
Yeah.
So, if we take that idea...
All right. Okay. You're playing into something you brought up last time. Let's go with this. Go.
So let's say he got injured in the line of duty because, like in RoboCop, he rushed in before thinking.
Okay.
So this time around, he's a bit more cautious. And again, doesn't need to go any further than we know this because this is how we need the movie to work. It doesn't need to be brought up as a point of exposition in the film itself. But it's just that we know, okay...
Oh, right. Okay. I have to admit, for a second there, I thought you were going to suggest that his injury might play into the situation, that he's deficient in some factor.
I just
that would cause him to hang back because he's not immediately in command of the situation. Although if we do that, that's going to hamper him throughout the rest of the movie. That's a bit of a concern.
That is a concern. That's why I just thought it's a psychological thing. He rushed in before, got injured. He knows, but he's learned from his mistake.
Do you think that we could just show him not acting and get away with that being self-evident, or do you think we'd need a little, as it were, a little flash?
I don't think we'll need a flash. I think possibly...
That's what I mean. Do you think we need to indicate to the audience, or do we trust them?
I think we trust the audience. I think if we
Because they have heard the conversation with Argyle on the way there, so we do know quite a bit of his backstory.
This is true. So possibly then he sees the guys pulling the workers out of the office.
Yeah.
Almost has a moment of panic, closes the door, and just takes a moment to kind of.
Oh, I like that. That's nice.
And then
Gold star.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's a nice scene. Different character. But instead of John think, it's.
Yes. And then sees them starting to come down the corridor and thinks, fuck, I need to get out of here. Scoots off.
Indeed, yes.
Cool,
Yeah.
okay.
I do think it'll come up later on. I think he'll act when John wouldn't.
Yes.
But I just felt that this scene, I think, for one reason or another, he needed to not act for a couple of reasons. And that's a really good little bit of PTSD to the situation. Makes it slightly heavier, but I mean, there's some heavy moments in this movie anyway, so it's, it's not a deal breaker at all. And I like it. It gives him a little more depth. Because again, Murphy, like I mentioned before, you don't get to know an awful lot about him before he becomes Robocop. No. So expanding on who he is as a person and experiencing that with him is going to help with the bonding process for the audience, isn't it?
Definitely, especially because one of the biggest selling points of Die Hard itself is the fact that it's the everyman aspect of John McClane's character.
That and his incessant batter.
Again, it's a different person, it's a different character, and again, as we mentioned before, because of Peter Weller's stature and things like that.
He's imposing in a way that McClane isn't physically.
Yes, yeah. So we need to just bring him down a peg or two to make him relatable. And that does that. It shows that, okay, yes, he's this big, tall, imposing bloke, but he has his moments of weakness as well.
Yes, indeed, he does, and it's good to show that. It gives motivation for little moments like that. It gives context to him. It gives a context to Murphy as a character rather than McClane as a character, which is really important.
Okay, so
popcorn.
Oh, nice. Peckish.
I thought we'd offended for some reason. Thank you.
So oddly enough, I do have an honorary for Act 2.
Okay.
Which I don't normally say do it at the end, but it's a very quick one.
Okay.
And it's pretty much straight after where we're up to already.
Okay.
So it's as he's going up the stairwell, and he stops and he looks through a couple of the doors and he sees people moving. He sees them moving the lovely word, ordnance.
Ordnance. Oh yes, yes.
It did make me think, because the first one he sees, he said that he only sees two of them. And I did think, would he try and do something at that point? Or just carry on with his recon?
This is a question we're going to be asking repeatedly throughout this, isn't it? I think we'd see him start to do something, and then he'd see what they're doing, or see what they're carrying, and realise there's something bigger going on. Not that he's intimidated by the ordnance, but that, oh, wow.
Yeah.
These aren't machine guns, what are they up to? Then the cop in him.
Yes.
So we'd see that impetuousness.
Definitely.
But at this moment, he's still cautious, I think, because it is only a few moments. It's only maybe 10 minutes after they've dinged out of the elevator.
That works. I like that, definitely. Yeah. Again, don't stop. Because what you can do is, even if he comes out of the fire escape, like he's going to follow them down and do something, and then maybe hears them on the radio, so he realises, oh god, there's probably more than he realises.
Exactly.
And thinks, hang on, and then suddenly remembers they haven't seen me yet.
Exactly. And then
sort of steps back.
Yeah.
Cool. What did you have for your first scene?
I'm going to take it for granted that he will have his fight with Kurt, or whatever his name is, and acquire the machine gun.
That was actually down as my first scene.
Then I think you should go with your talk, because I was going to skim past that and take it as read. What's your take?
Okay, so it's not Kurt, it's Tony.
It's Tony.
Yes.
That is the blonde fellow, isn't it?
Yeah. I looked up. Yeah, it's.
I don't know why I was convinced it was a K name.
It's
Silly me.
Carl's brother. So
yeah,
makes sense.
I thought it was Carl and Kurt.
Yeah. No, it's Tony.
Okay.
Which, just before that, as a slight aside, the scene with Takagi in the boardroom, and I never noticed before. So you've got Theo and Carl on one side, obviously with the computer.
Yeah.
Hands on the other, Takagi here. Way off in the background is Tony, just sat in the background. Does it say anything? You can just make him out in the background, just sat there watching. It also reminds me of another point as well. What actually makes this one quite interesting, they are doing this, our new version of Die Hard, is it's not just, I mean, if it works, it's not just a maybe mover. A maybe mover? I don't know. Words.
Have you been doing something to the condiments? Yeah, he's not going to say anything, is he?
That's either a yes or a no.
I don't know, but the English is not working today, is
No,
it?
it's not. Should we do it in Swahili?
I have no idea. It sounds like either.
Sorry, yes. It's not just potentially it's not just a maybe movie. It's technically a might have been movie. Because apparently Paul Verhoeven turned down the opportunity to direct Die Hard.
You shit me. Oh, that's great!
Yeah.
This really is a movie that might have been.
Yeah.
Great! Oh, that just makes me feel so much better about all of this.
Verhoeven's not above using or reusing actors. So
Of course.
It's entirely possible that he could have even cast him, because it's after RoboCop. Yes, so the fight with Tony.
Yes, indeed.
I've always, and again, it may just be my interpretation of it. They think he's on the 31st floor because that was where the alarms went off.
Yeah.
But I always figure that he knows that McClane is there because he hears him monologuing. So I imagine as Tony's coming out the elevator and he can hear McClane blah 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 blah, he knows he's there. But as we've said about Murphy, can be quite stoic. He's not going to be sort of blathering as much.
No, this is one of my concerns, is that he's not going to be monologuing nearly as much.
No. So it just makes me think that when Tony comes into there, he's going to be more cautious because he doesn't definitely know that whoever set the fire alarms off is still on this floor.
Okay, I see what you mean. I have to admit, I'd just taken it the other way, that Tony was simply assuming that someone was there because that's where the alarms were sent off. But either way we take it, doesn't matter, because I think we both agree that Murphy is not going to be making any noise at this point. Or maybe just a, come on. It wouldn't be a constant stream of batter, would it? It would be him willing them to do what he needs them to do, or something like that.
Yes. I did also make a note that, even from the original film, nice little bit of intelligent filmmaking there again. The first thing he does when he walks into the room, turns on all the lights.
Like to be able to see what I'm looking at? Yes.
So what do you think Murphy would do then? So he's heard the elevator go ding, hide. We would say that runs the same.
Yes. I imagine that Murphy would try and sort of duck around the side of the room and kind of circle around behind them, because he knows they've just come out of the elevator, so he might go around the side and kind of come up behind them. Is how I imagined him doing it, which isn't all that different from how McClane does it anyway.
So but you wouldn't set the machinery going or anything like that. We think that's.
Ooh, would he think of that? He might. Something like that is not beyond the character that we know. No, definitely.
Okay, so that would go the same. Certainly with the fight itself, because again, we know McClane is a scrapper. Murphy tends to be, he's more of a gunman.
He's not, I don't think Murphy would go for the grapple. He'd go for the grab and the big swing, the right pull back and the big...
Again, leaning back into what we were saying before, like the punch from justice.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah. So he's not a scrapper, he's not a boxer exactly, but he's that sort of more, I'm going to pull back and let you see that I'm going to put your lights out.
Yeah, telegraph it as much as possible.
Yeah.
The other thing again with about that, which makes more sense, because my other thing with that fight is because you haven't got, they're closer to each other in height. Tony's not going to be able to just have him carry him around on his back basically as he does with.
Oh no! That's the thing. If Murphy, he is a good 6-8 inches taller. He's going to take him to the ground,
Yeah.
Or even pick him up.
Suplex him down the stairs.
Yeah.
It did make me think about things as well, because the other thing that we didn't really touch on, we never said for definite whether Murphy is now a detective or whether he's still just a beat cop. Because again, in terms of things like spotting fake IDs, things like that.
I think he needs to be a detective to have the knowledge he has. Otherwise, we change the entire premise of half of the story because he's going into it much more blind.
Yes.
And reacting. And I think that possibly, I don't know, that also might possibly affect the whole Lewis-Murphy relationship as well.
That's true. That's true.
You know, Lewis, as Powell, would be an ex-detective who... it's never explicit. I just assumed that Powell was a detective like McClane.
Because he's a sergeant.
Because of the way they bonded. But of course not. He is still just a beat cop.
Well, he's a desk sergeant, isn't he?
He's a desk sergeant now.
Okay. The last thing that I had about this, and I know it comes a little bit after, but it's seeded in this scene. What are we going to put in as a replacement for now I have a machine gun?
That's actually was going to be one of the bits that I wanted to touch on next.
We'll come to it then.
No, I haven't got a huge bit. It was one of the ones I wanted to touch on lightly because, obviously, I don't think he'd say the same thing. And I'll be honest, I think this is where we'll get one of his trademarks. I think it's your move creep.
And then ho ho ho?
Possibly ho ho ho,
yeah.
But definitely the phrase would be your move.
Yes.
Because it's like that. I've just taken your piece.
Yes.
Your move creep.
Yeah.
And that's the way Murphy works.
Love it. Another one. That's another gold star for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so that was my first one.
Again, I'm going to assume that Murphy would continue to explore the building much in the same way that McClane had, trying to look for some sort of advantage or weaponry or something that would give him a chance to turn around and do something properly. Obviously, he's armed himself, but he's still going to be looking to figure out what's going on. And of course, he'll want to call the cops because he's a straight-up guy. So he will make his way to the roof as quickly as possible. He might not explore the maintenance tunnels as thoroughly as McClane did. He might just head straight up to the roof and try and get in touch with the cops.
In which case, then, do we think that Murphy would announce who he is? Or are we going to give him the same benefit of that if he realises that doing so may put Holly in danger?
This is one of the ones where I was thinking about it earlier, and I don't know. I don't think he would identify himself, but he might identify himself as a policeman. Because I don't think Murphy's the kind of guy that would badmouth dispatch.
No. The
way that McClane does. I think he would be like, look, sergeant, lady, whatever you are, I'm one of you. I'm in a bad situation. I just need some help.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Would he go as far as giving his badge number? Maybe. Not that I don't know that Hans would have any way of making any use of that badge number.
To them, they may just go, yeah, you're talking crap, because it may not mean anything to them, because badge numbers and...
But they'd know that he's a policeman. It's that little bit more information than they had at this point in the story with McClane.
Okay.
I think he would. I do. He's a forthright guy.
Yes.
I think he would.
So, I didn't like to suggest that he would declare his... identify himself. But yeah, that would work. Giving his badge number...
Yeah,
would certainly go. I mean, it wouldn't even mean a huge lot to the police because that's his badge number in New York, and they may not even work on the same numbers in their badge numbers.
I mean, it could be something that the cops could identify him by that necessarily Hans wouldn't necessarily be able to.
I mean, I suppose then we could
because they could call New York and go, "Do you have this badge number?"
Yeah, I mean, even if you identified what was happening by the police code.
Yeah, exactly. Just that indicating his police knowledge and his experience.
Okay.
But that I think he would do that, but I don't think he'd give away his name, not if he could help it.
So was that that's for your first one?
Yes.
Okay. So number 2, I've got the introduction of Lewis.
Oh, okay. Right. Yes. Okay. Let's go with that. Yeah.
So again, a couple of wrinkles here as well. Obviously, Lewis is not going to be buying Twinkies for her pregnant husband. So I thought there's 2 ways we can go about this. Maybe one, we don't even need to suggest that she's married. We don't know because it doesn't come up in Robocop. We don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
The other possibility is that she's buying Twinkies for herself because she's expecting.
That was where I would have gone with it. Yeah, that's where I would have gone. Yeah.
And I was thinking then we could say then it's just before Christmas. She's just finished her last shift before going on maternity leave.
Oh, nice. Nice, I like that. Yes, that's good. Yeah, it gives context. It's not 3 days to retirement, but it's that kind of a, all right, I'll just take in this last call before I go. It's dragged into all of the crazy. I like the idea of that.
Excellent. Because again, she doesn't even have to be showing that much, but just enough.
Yeah.
Because if you wanted to do it, and it is probably the kind of thing that John McTiernan would do, is if you fast forward a little bit to the bit where they start shooting at her as she's come out of the building when she reverses.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way as in Die Hard 3, when they've got the suitcase with the bomb, and they're like, you can't put that there, some kid might find it. We can't shoot at her, she's a pregnant woman. Shut up. Just that little bit of,
Yeah. Acknowledgement.
Yes. But that was it, yeah. I was going to put that in as a thing.
Yeah. No, I think that was good. Good touch.
I mean, what did you have for your number 2?
My next one would have been the Hans-John conversation that ends with Roy Rogers and Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Because that is a conversation that's going to be different here.
That happens after Lewis's... No, that's before, isn't it?
It's after. It's after.
It's
after dropping the body on the cop car.
I'm going to go before this then, because I think... Unfortunately, I don't think the film gets that far.
Oh, you think you broke it?
Yes.
Okay. Come at me, bruh.
There are times when, obviously, with these, we have gone to the great god meta and changed things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But insofar as possible, when we do it, as both of them said before, story is king.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no way we're getting Peter Weller into that air shaft, into that air vent. If you can't get into the air vent, get him over.
Oh, you know when I went earlier on and I went, oh, and then didn't say anything. That's because that's when you were talking about how large he was. Of course, I thought about how tall he was, but until you mentioned it that time, I hadn't thought that, of course, his shoulders are going to be much wider. And Willis is like this.
Yeah, in there.
Shuffling in that air shaft. Willis not going to get in there. He's not going to get in there.
That's what I mean. We could go and say, because movie, but I think that's doing a disservice to the reality of...
Well, for the sake of argument, let's at least go through it in detail and see how it's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
he's done the bit on the roof. Carl and the other two come up and they drive him into where the workings of the elevator are.
Mm.
And he has nowhere to go. He literally has... That is his only way out. So unless... The only other thing that you can really say is because he's a bit taller, he may be able to reach a bit further, his body a bit further, but he's not going to be able to climb down 40 stories in the air shaft.
So what do you think is going to happen then?
I think he's going to try and get in there. He can't. Carl turns up and just goes bang and see you later. I think that's the end of the film.
Okay.
Personally, unless...
Well, you've got a strong argument there. I was going to sit just for a second, think about this, if there's any alternative. From the roof, they chase him down. He's retreating constantly every point. He's got almost no cover in the maintenance tunnels.
Bullets.
He hides around that corner, and that's when he starts looking down the air shaft because there's nowhere else to go. Now, you're free to say the things to me that I said to you a few weeks back. What if, for the sake of argument, Carl shot at him and either hit him or by shooting at him caused him to drop? Even as I'm saying this, I'm starting to think it's still extraordinary. I was just wondering if there's any way that one of the elevators was in motion and he might be able to land.
But he's not in the elevator shaft.
It's the air shaft, it's not the elevator shaft, is it? I think you have a point. I didn't even consider it. I thought it was going to become more of a problem later on, but no, you're right. You're right, because in that situation he has got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I think we just broke another movie.
The only way that and just as I was thinking at it just now, that would possibly...
What do you think, folks?
The only way that we could possibly cheek it, but we can't because, again, it's not being true to the characters, is when Hans calls Carl and says, just lock him in and come back down.
Well, and Carl does what he says.
Yes.
But that's not Carl.
Exactly.
That is not Carl. That would be a different character if we did that.
Yeah.
think we just broke the movie. Damn!
So
I did not see that coming, folks. I thought it was going to be rough, but I did not think we were going to break it. Yeah, caught me by surprise.
Shit. That's 2 months in a row we've broken one. Does that mean things are going to go slightly weird again?
I don't know.
Not. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a shame because I have got loads of notes about the rest of it.
You know, all the rest of it.
But yeah, unfortunately, we have run out of film.
Yeah.
Which means somewhere out there, Hans Gruber is sitting on a beach earning 20%.
Damn, you're right. Yes. No shocked expression as he falls from the Nakatomi Tower. No, none of that. Dear me. Well,
it's a shame because I did think it did make me think, because we've done these with these two characters, if this one had worked at some point then down the line, we could have done Robo Hard 2 and Die Copper. Unfortunately not.
Yeah. Wow, caught me by surprise there. I suppose we have to ask the question again. Does this mean that RoboHard wins by default?
As with last month, it wins by default because it's the only one that functions as a film.
Mm.
But I like it. I it does.
I have to admit, I was thinking about this earlier on. I think we made a slightly funnier film.
Mm-hmm.
I did worry a little bit if that somehow subverts Verhoeven's point about America taking ultraviolence far too seriously.
Yes.
And that also made me realise that we have picked two diametrically opposed movies, because one is glorifying the very thing that Robocop is satirically condemning.
Yes.
But at the same time, I don't know, I like the extra banter. I feel like it might have been worth seeing.
McClane is one of those characters that you could drop him in pretty much anything. And
He's an enjoyable character.
Yes.
Just in general. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, I think it does. I think it gets a pass. It gets a win.
Okay, so we get 2 thumbs up for RoboHard. Every time.
But I was right. The title was indeed a prophecy. Die Cop. It is broken. That's another one for the graveyard.
Yes, we shall have to look at doing that at some point. So, an unexpectedly short episode there. We will find something to occupy our time with next week.
Sure, we'll figure something out.
As always, thank you for joining us, and again, as always, please do look after one another and stay safe, and we will see you next time.
As always, like, share and subscribe, and until next time, DTFN.
Ba 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 ba.